Okay.
Allie, you'll want to start the recording as well when you decide to start.
I think we're already recording. I think I had it so it automatically started recording. Which I can go back and edit it. All right, hi guys. Welcome to the NAIGC Board Restructuring Town Hall. As people are coming in, I just want to thank you guys for all coming along. So my name is Allie Snyder. I am the chair of the Communications Committee, and I have Dane with me as well. He's on the Communications Committee as well. And then also Ashley here with us, and she is on the Policy Committee and helped orchestrate and create this new structure that we're going to be talking about today. So she'll be available for any questions. Before we get started, I just wanted to put a little advertisement in for the NAIGC Fit. I think hopefully you guys have been seeing all the workouts that we've been posting daily. We love your guys' support for those and your guys' engagement. So we decided to create an entire Instagram page dedicated to these workouts. It's called NAIGC Fit. So if you guys could go ahead and follow that program, we're going to continue the workouts on that page instead of the main NAIGC page. So if you love those workouts, go ahead and follow that Instagram account. All right, so let's get started. The reason why we're talking about today is we announced at the annual meeting that the NAIGC internal structure is going to be changing a little bit from the past. Just as an overview of what we're talking about today is our main goal is just talking about that restructuring, how it differs from what it was in the past, definitions of new terms, explaining the entire premise of this new structure, how elections will work, how appointments will work, and how best to get involved if you're interested. At the end, we're going to be talking about a new internship program that we have, and then at the very, very end, we'll have time for questions. If you guys do have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the raise hand function or use the Q&A. And we'll be answering those questions as they come in. So we have, just as a brief overview, an explanation of what our old structure looked like and our new structure is going to look like. So in the old structure, which we've been using since we've pretty much incorporated as a nonprofit, has been pretty uniform in terms of responsibilities and participation by both directors and advisors. So every year at the Nationals annual meeting, we would have the Board of Directors election, which you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the annual meeting where a bunch of people come up and they give their speeches about why they would want to be on the Board of Directors, and then you as member clubs would vote. So over here on the left side of the screen, you guys can see that you have your directors, and then within the directors, you have your officers, like your president of the NAIGC, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And then within this smaller circle, these two smaller circles, those are the people on the NAIGC who have the ability to vote on the direction of the NAIGC. If you still wanted to help out, but were not elected as a director, you would become an advisor. And with an advisor, you could be a part of any of the committees that we had on our NAIGC internal structure. So committees like our event management committee, merch, communications, technology, and so forth. So there was a melding between directors and advisors. The only real difference was that directors would have an ability to vote on the direction of the NAIGC. In the new structure, we have kind of two buckets that we're separating our roles into. And we've separated out board members from an operation role. So for the elections for this year, you guys are electing board members to be the head of strategic planning and long-term vision goals for the NAIGC. And within those board members, there'll be elected officers that will help run that side of the NAIGC. All the day-to-day activities will be led by the operations team, which is here on our triangle side. It's led by an executive director who then appoints department heads, who then hire, quote hire, it's all volunteer based, operations specialists. So it's very structuralized in a hierarchical format, which we'll go into later. But this is just a brief overview of the new structure that we're going to be incorporating. So what are some goals? We've noticed that within the last few years, we've really been growing both as an organization in terms of the amount of member clubs and members, but also in the amount of volunteers that we have in the NAIGC. And with some years being 30 to 40 advisors. And we want to really create a nice opportunity for more growth. And when we have the operations roles very defined, well, it'll be easy to recruit into specific projects and tasks. And this allows the board to focus on long-term strategic planning and oversight. Also, it makes, there's a new implementation that's going to be run not this year, but the next year, which we'll go into further detail about, the nomination committee that will help make board member elections more robust and relevant to membership. So I've kind of mentioned these terms a little bit, but we have our governance side, which is our board members. It has a dual focus of ensuring the NAIGC staying true to its mission and set up for long-term success. Some of these tasks include enforcing policy and drafting policies, treasury and finance of the NAIGC, long-term planning, strategic vision, and appointing and overseeing an executive director. The triangle part of our new structure is our operations side. Our operations are the on-the-ground, day-to-day work that we need to have the best organization that we can for putting on nationals, for helping the regional meets be successful, any event sanctioning that you guys request, any website development and technology in terms of the online store, making that more robust, any merch, developing that, communications, like these town halls and office hours that you guys have been coming to, any scholarships that we have, and sponsorships. That will all be falling under the operations side. So in order to put this a little more visually, into a visual perspective, we have this really nice organizational chart. And there's a lot on here, so don't feel overwhelmed. I'm going to go over this step by step. So we have our governance side, which is our board members. And we'll have 3 different committees on the board, which will be comprised of the board members that you guys elect. Within those board members, we're going to have 3 officers, a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. These board members will appoint an executive director who is in charge of all the operations departments. So we have 4 different departments. We have events, marketing, membership, and technology. Underneath all of those, we'll have the departments themselves. So you have the department head who is appointed by the executive director, and they're in charge of appointing all of the positions below them. So within the events department, we'll have stuff like the nationals team, which will have the nationals coordinator and registration coordinator, our WAG team, our MAG team, TNT rules, and event sanctioning, and so forth. With our marketing department, we're really going to focus on public relations, growth and outreach, fundraising, merch, and design. Our membership, we're going to be working with a scholarship team, human resources, our regions team, which is new this year. I'll explain that later in this presentation. Survey coordinator, and our communications team. And then our final department is our technology department, which will focus on an IT team, development team, webmaster, and engineering and fabrication team. So the hope of this new structure is to really develop specific roles and responsibilities that each team or each individual will have. So with this new organizational structure, there are some new expectations of board members. The board members candidates will need to be willing to learn about applicable laws and nonprofit best practices and develop new processes and systems for the NAIGC. We ask that if you do become a board member that you serve on at least 2 of the board committees. The committees are the Policy Committee, which help review and develop governing documents for the nonprofit best practices and laws, the Development Committee, which help develop key performance indicators, research best practices, and implement recruiting strategies for future board members. And finally, the Finance Committee to help develop and report financial statements, implement fundraising and sponsorship strategies. In addition to serving on 2 of these committees, a board member may serve 1 additional role in operations. However, that role cannot be a department head or the executive director. The reasoning for that is that we really want board members to be focused on this long-term planning and strategic vision for the NAIGC. But if they still want to help out in, say, a smaller role in the operations sides, by all means, we'd love to encourage that. About half of all board members will need to hold some sort of leadership within the governance side. You'll have a president, a treasurer, who will chair the Finance Committee, a secretary, a Policy Committee chair, and a Development Committee chair. So each of the committees will have a chair, and you'll have your 3 officers. The terms for the 2020 election will only be 1 or 2 years, and we'll go into further detail about how this structure is going to be developing through the next 5 years as we fully transition. So, speaking about governance elections, we are right in the middle of our nomination period. So for the upcoming board member election, there are 11 open board positions. The 11 highest scoring candidates will become board members. So there are 3 2-year terms available, which of the top 11 candidates who apply, if you apply for a 2-year position, the top 3 scoring candidates will be awarded that 2-year term. If, when you apply to become a candidate for the board, if you applied for a 2-year term, but were not the top 3 scoring candidates who ran for a 2-year term, you'll still be awarded a 1-year term if you're within the top 11 highest scoring board members. I hope that made sense. You can still, however, run for a 1-year term. If still as long, and you'll receive that position, you'll be awarded that position still only if you're within the top 11 highest scoring candidates. So like I said, we're in the middle of our nomination period. After the annual meeting on April 16th, the nominations opened, and we're going to explain how you guys nominate at the end of this presentation. We have on May 1st, our nominations and applications for the board member elections will close. And on May 4th, the election will open. So on May 4th, we're going to have this virtual candidate speeches and an opportunity to ask questions to the candidates who are running for a board member position. On May 12th, the elections will close. So each member club will have an opportunity to vote for this board election. Okay.
All right. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is something called a nomination committee, and this is a new addition with the restructuring. Now, the goal of the nomination committee is to simplify the election process for you, the membership, and also simultaneously, it's going to help align candidates with existing gaps as far as like skills and valuable assets for the board. Now, how this is going to work is that every year, excluding this year, it won't be happening, but moving forward after this year, the board members are going to pick 6 to 10 people to be part of a temporary group. And that group is going to be composed of students, coaches, members of the community, and also board members, as long as those board members are not currently running for re-election at that time. What we're encouraging is that we would like to have at least one coach, one student, and one development committee member to be on this nomination committee. And only 50% of the committee can be board members. So we're trying to give that voice to the organization. Their job, once they're seated, is to vet all of the nominations, all of the applications. And they're going to go through a process of interviewing and having meetings, whittle that down to the best candidates that they feel would be the strongest choices to help the organization moving forward. So that transition period that Ali mentioned before, looking at this, if you look at 2019, there were 18 board members, and only one of them was in the first year of their 2-year term, which means that there were 17 open slots potentially. That is a massive amount of turnover. Moving into 2020, that's been reduced to 12 board members. By 2021, we'll have the first round of board members that are going to be on a 3-year term. Into 2022, we have our second round. And by 2023, you're going to have 9 board members, each of them on a 3-year term, and they're staggered in groups of 3, which means that every single year, there will always be 3 open spots up for election for board members, and only 3, compared to currently where there was the potential for 17. This helps to create stability and consistency in the board, which in turn helps to have that same advantage over to the organization.
All right, thanks, Dane. So I mentioned this earlier when we were looking at that giant organizational chart, that we have a new function and new outlook for our regional representatives, a new role. So originally, in the past, we've had regional coordinators that each region would vote on at the annual meeting or a little after the annual meeting, who are usually members of your region that are supposed to represent you and your interests on the board, and also to help coordinate between each club of your region, whether it be putting on sanctioned events or helping run regionals. We realize that this is a twofold position that has a lot of responsibility. So we decided to make a regions team. So these regional roles are now split into 2 different positions. What is now called regional coordinators are appointed as an operations role. So the membership department head will appoint regional coordinators to help work and facilitate regional championship bids, provide support for regional championship hosts, and ensure that club contact information and calendar of regional events is all accurate. These regional coordinators will be expected to have a set of skills and knowledge of event sanctioning policies, of the scoring software system, of how to get judges in your region. So there's a really big skill set that we're looking for with regional coordinators. So that is going to be why they're going to be appointed and rather than elected. But we still want to hear from you guys, and we still want your guys' interests represented on the board. So we've created this regional representative position. One representative for each region is elected by you guys, by each club from their region. This regional representative will represent the club's interests and concerns directly to board members. They're going to be the first point of contact between clubs and the NAIGC. And they're going to help assist with growth and outreach within their region. Similar to the board member elections, regional representative elections follow the same timeline. To apply for a regional representative position, you guys can fill out the application that you can find. We're going to post this slideshow so you guys can click on these links. But also, if you go to naigc.org, on the top bar, there's an Elections 2020 drop-down menu where you guys can find all of these applications to apply. Yeah, it still follows the same timeline where nominations and applications will close on May 1st, elections open up on May 4th, Elections close on May 12th. So how can you guys get involved?
All right, so if you're looking at all the information that was listed above with the breakdown between the board side / governance and the operations side, if you're looking to run for a board member position, you simply add yourself to the ballot by filling out the application. Remember that link right there is going to be available once we post. If you want to nominate someone else, you simply email their nomination and endorsement to the NAIGC discussion listserv. In order to do that, you have to join the Google group. Now, like Ali said, those nominations are open currently. They started last week after the annual meeting, and they're going to go until May 1st. So you have about another week or so in order to make that happen. If you want more information on it, though, the Election 2020 page on naigc.org has more information for you. And if you still have additional questions, email info@naigc.org. We understand that there is quite a bit of information that's being presented. And if any of you are new and looking to get involved, it can seem overwhelming, and we want to help with this process as much as possible. So feel free to reach out, ask questions, whether that happens at the end of this in the Q&A or later by emailing. If instead you're looking at that breakdown, you have all these jobs and roles that are available on the operations side, and you'd rather apply for that, at the moment, you really only have to be patient, because as Ali mentioned before, the board members have to be elected first so that they can appoint the executive director. And that executive director will then have to appoint the operational leadership team. They are going to have the job of posting all of the roles that you can apply for. Now, if instead you're interested in being considered for the executive director or for the operations leadership team, email info@naigc.org to put your name and information into the consideration for those positions. So if you're looking at that and thinking, all right, well, who is a good person? Am I a good fit for governance? Or do I know someone who would be a good fit for governance? The easy qualities that come to mind for this is someone who is hardworking. They're very passionate about serving and expanding collegiate and adult gymnastics opportunities. You have to be a strong communicator. Analytical thinking really helps, but also the ability to demonstrate experience in a nonprofit governance or organization. This is a very strong asset. Because as a board member, you're going to be expected to attend the board and committee meetings, and you're looking at 2 to 10 hours of online video conferencing, similar to this format that we have right now. And you're going to be expected to work on assignments in between those meetings. And at the meetings have monthly voting that's going on. So please understand, this is an incredible opportunity to have an impact on an organization. And it's an amazing learning opportunity for if you're a student or a young professional and you want to be part of a nonprofit organization. But you also get to be responsible for deciding on strategies that have an impact on the entire NAIGC organization. You get to work on those strategies. So if you hear all of that and you think either, yes, that is something that I really want to do, or instead, I know someone that sounds like, and you want to nominate them, how do you nominate? You sign up for our discussion listserv, which not to be confused with the announcement list. And it's at the bottom of the email sign-up page. Again, that link available. If you're nominating someone else, in the process of nominating, make sure to include their strengths. Talk about their background. Talk about any experience that might be applicable for them to be considered as a board member. And again, if you have any other questions about it, email us, info@naigc.org. We want to help you in this process of either nominating someone or nominating yourself. So you found out you got nominated. How do you accept it? Easy. If you accept your nomination or nominate someone else and they want to accept it, you just have to fill out the online nomination form. Boom, link right there. And then all of those accepted nominations are going to be sent to the discussion listserv. Now, instead, you're looking at that whole chart above. and you've got governance on the left-hand side, and you've got all these operational opportunities on the right-hand side, and you're thinking, all right, governance isn't for me. I want to do operational specialists. Who are they? Now, similarly, these are people that are also, they're hardworking and they're passionate about serving and they have strong communication skills, but also these are people that need to be focused and reliable. These are team-oriented workers, and you have to have a strong ability to self-motivate, because these are the people, like Ali mentioned earlier, that are going to make the things happen that the membership has come to expect. These are the people that are in charge of merchandise. These are the people that are in charge of nationals coordination and in charge of HR and tech. So the fact that there is a website, the people that work on that have to be self-motivated to get those jobs done. And if you hear that and you say, yep, that's me, how do I do it? Well, again, this is a very easy process. You can apply to be an operations specialist at literally any time throughout the year. Now, before that happens though, currently, the operations leadership team, which again, appointed by the executive director, they're gonna meet and they're gonna figure out all of the operational roles that need to be filled for the upcoming year. And then they take those and they post them on the NAIGC website. And they're gonna talk about the desired qualifications, the job responsibilities, the estimated workload, all of it. So you can go on there, you can look for which one you would be best suited or most passionate about, and simply submit your resume for that particular role. If you have more than one in mind, awesome. Apply for all of them. Let us know what your preferences are. If you go down through and you realize there are 5 or 6 that you want to do and you want to list them in the hierarchy, do it. If you want to let us know that you would be able to do multiple roles at once, that's fantastic. Let us know that too. And the other thing is, if you look on there and you realize that there is a role that you would love to contribute to, but it isn't currently included, tell us. Let us know what it is that you want to contribute, how you feel you would be best suited for it, and how it's going to help the organization achieve their goal. And we will take that into consideration. There are going to be a lot of opportunities moving forward with this, and we want everyone to not only understand how to find them, but just how much opportunity is being presented to them.
Thanks, Dane. So I mentioned earlier that we have a new program that we're going to implement soon for internships. So what is it? What is the NAIGC internship program? It provides extra assistance to the NAIGC operations team with specific projects for a short period of time, typically about the time of an internship, which is about 1 to 4 months. Could be more, could be potentially less. It just depends on the specific task that we need help with. These will be within certain teams or departments that are looking for extra help, like maybe tech, maybe needing a merch intern or a social media intern, etc. Who can apply? These are for any qualified member of the NAIGC that is either a current or recently graduated undergraduate or graduate student. So these, we're hoping that we can offer you guys an opportunity to add to your resume while helping out the program and organization that you guys love so much. So how to apply? So since this is a new program that we're starting, we're gonna try to have 2 application periods throughout the year. We haven't picked our first application period, but we'll announce that via the announcement email. So keep an eye out for that if you guys are really interested. So all it's going to be consisting of is each department that needs interns is going to create a job posting, and we're going to put that on the NAIGC website. There's going to be an application that you fill out and you submit your resume. And those will be reviewed by the department heads and the HR committee to help determine who can help out with this internship. So what are the expectations of our interns? We do ask that if you are an intern with an organization that you attend all relevant meetings, that you communicate with your assigned supervisor, and that you do actually work on the specific project that you've been hired for as a volunteer until the end date posted in the job description. Your department head, who helps decide which intern, has some expectations as well. So we're going to ask that department heads supervise or assign a direct supervisor and help guide interns in their work. And that if requested, provide a letter of recommendation to the interns. So we're hoping that we can give back to you guys while you guys, at the same time, you guys help us make sure that the NAIGC can run as smoothly as possible. So stay tuned. Keep an eye out for that on the announcement email listserv if you guys are interested. Just in general, if you guys want to keep up to date on what's happening with the NAIGC, I can't stress enough how important it is to sign up for the announcement listserv. If you guys go to naigc.org, you can hover over the Contact tab, click on Email Sign Up, and there's a link right there that will help sign you up for the announcement email. Super simple. Same with the discussion listserv. The discussion listserv is where you're going to find all of those nominations that we were talking about, that Dane was talking about just a minute ago. There, also on the discussion listserv, you'll hear about upcoming meets or events that other clubs are putting on. So it's not just the NAIGC board members or operations team that's going to be posting on the discussion listserv. It's other clubs that can send emails out as well. The announcement emails are just from the NAIGC leadership to our members. So with that, that is the conclusion of our programmed part of this webinar. If you guys have any questions, feel free to either raise your hand or ask it in the Q&A chat. If you guys are watching on Facebook Live, you guys can comment there below. We have somebody monitoring that as well. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know.
I can take this first one from Addie. So the question is, what prompted this big change? So basically, we just outgrew our old structure. It was working really well for a really long time, but as we continued bringing on more and more volunteers, we were growing in a very horizontal way. And so we kind of realized we needed to restructure, make things more vertical. And so that prompted us to do a lot of research. And then basically this whole past year, we've had a committee doing research into best practices, meeting once a week. And then this is the final product that we came up with that is, it aligns with both nonprofit best practices and what we understood would work best for our specific organization.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions that come up later, you guys can email NAIGC. You can email info@naigc.org. Also, not sure if you guys have seen these before, but we've been doing office hours on Facebook Live. Typically, they are every Sunday or every other Sunday from 8:30 to 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That's just an opportunity to ask questions, anything that comes up. And it doesn't have to be anything related to what the announcement of that office hour was. It could be anything from how do I get involved to we've had questions from high school students who say, I'm 17 and I want to get involved. How do I do this? All the way to people who are asking, current members who are asking about nationals information. Those are really open and they're available for you guys, these office hours. So if you guys have any questions that come up after this, feel free to email info@naigc.org or hop onto our office hours on Facebook Live. I think there was another question.
Yeah, I can jump on this one as well. So the next question was about, is there a concern about only 3 new members to the board each year? And so basically the short answer is no. And the reason for that is we'll be bringing in and onboarding, or at least have the ability to, and the intent is that we will onboard a lot of new people on the operations side. So there still will be a lot of new ideas and fresh insight being brought into the board. So basically, I guess that's a short answer of it.
Abby also had a follow-up comment. I'm all for returning members for continuation and such, but more than half of the board being that seems problematic to me. That is potentially true. However, the part that didn't get mentioned is that we are implementing term limits for all board members. So you can serve no more than 9 years in a given 12-year period, meaning that you can only serve up to 3 consecutive terms, and then you have to rotate off for at least 3 years. So we are hoping that that helps with turnover, while at the same time not having to onboard as many new people every year. Carlos asked, what if a board member is unable to finish a 3-year term? If for some reason the board member cannot finish a term and there is less than a year left, then we would not appoint a replacement until the following year's election. If there is more than a year left in that term, then we would be hosting a special election, and those procedures would be announced to membership so that they are able to vote for the replacement board member.
So just a quick comment. With this new structure, we're hoping that there will be a better flow of information and roles and responsibilities on the operations side. With these department heads, ideally we would have maybe 4 to 7 or maybe a little bit more people directly underneath them, which can help with communicating and mentoring and onboarding. So we're hoping to make a more streamlined process for you guys to have a smoother nationals and smoother NAIGC experience.
Okay, so Abby says, I assume there are still procedures in place for board member removal if there's a problem. Yes, the existing procedures are still in place. So the president can still remove a board member. A board member can be removed by the full board if they are inactive or otherwise not fulfilling their duties. And if there is an extreme case, it is actually possible for 10% of the membership to call for a special election to have someone potentially replaced. Okay. Andrew asked, with 9 people down from 15 plus and every other position being appointed, what policy protections are in place to combat nepotism? Something which is easier to accomplish the fewer people you have. So one of the first things is term limits, Andrew. We are going to be strict with those. There is also a term limit on officers of 6 years consecutively. So that will also help, we think, with turnover. And then the other big thing is the nomination committee, because we want people outside the board on that committee, providing voices, providing feedback, stopping it from being the same group of people selecting people every year. That's why we want outside members, coaches, community members to be part of that process.
Thank you guys for all these great questions. We're going to be on until for the next 8 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. But we're going to end at 9:50 Eastern time, which is 6:50 Pacific time. So just a few more minutes.
Okay, next question from Andrew. What metrics do you have to measure the effectiveness of the new system? Is the board willing to reevaluate this change at the end of the year if people don't like it? Absolutely. And one of the big roles of the development committee this year is creating those metrics and figuring out how we actually measure whether or not we are successful as an organization. And if you have feedback on that, we welcome your participation.
A quick note I want to say, since we are in the middle of our nominations period, we all highly recommend that if you guys have anybody that you think would be a good fit the board, that you guys recommend that you nominate them via our discussion listserv. The more people who are nominated, the more candidates that we have, and the great selection of board members that you guys can choose from. So if you guys have anybody that you guys think would be a good fit for the board, we want to encourage you guys to nominate. If you think that you'd be a good fit for the board, you can nominate yourself by filling out the application. Remember those nomination period that closes on May 1st. So just a few days from now, about 6 days from now.
Okay, our next question. Wait, what are those metrics, or are they still in development? They are absolutely still in development, ironically by the development committee primarily, in fact.
Along the lines of what Allie was saying for board nominations, I want to plug the regional representative nominations as well. The goal of the regional reps is to be a strong link between the student membership and the board. So if anybody here on the call knows of a strong student leader, maybe the current president of a club, I definitely encourage you to reach out to them to see if they'd be interested, and then to nominate them via the discussion listserv.
Okay, so next question. Wouldn't it have made more sense to have the metrics in place before the actual change? Second question, how can members give feedback at the end of next year about whether or not they thought the change is working well? Dane or Allie, would you potentially like to take the communications question?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time? Just sound clear.
So we're going to actually do the second question first.
Okay.
How can members give feedback at the end of next year about whether or not they thought the change is working well?
End of next year. Okay, so at the end of each year, we have a survey that goes out, our end of the year survey. We're currently in development for that, for this year's survey, which we're going to send out within the next few weeks. So the end of the year survey, we're going to have questions that have about any major changes we made through the year, our standard demographic questions for each club, and anything else that you guys would like to give us for information that we should consider. So there are many ways to communicate your guys' interests and your guys' concerns. You guys can either come onto our office hours every Sunday or every other Sunday on our Facebook Live. You guys can ask questions there. You guys can email info@neigc.org. You guys can comment on a post from social media, either on our Facebook page or our Instagram page. We have a phone number that you guys can reach, which you guys can find on the neigc.org website. So there's lots of ways that you guys can communicate with us, and we want to be as transparent as possible with you guys. We want to hear you guys' opinions because we serve for you guys. We serve for the membership. So we want to hear from you guys. Hopefully that answers that question.
And then I am going to circle back to that first question. Wouldn't it have made more sense to have the metrics in place before the actual change? That absolutely would have been nice to have. But we also needed to keep the organization running with a structure that works. And when the board had grown to a total of 50 to 60 people, it was really difficult for the current structure to manage that. And we did not feel we were utilizing all the talent we had as well as we could. So we definitely know some of the things that we absolutely have to do as an organization. And we are going to work on getting more concrete metrics in order to measure that in the future.
All right, guys, we're just about at time. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on our town hall. We really appreciate your guys' participation. And for those of you listening on Facebook, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to look back and listen to this presentation, it's going to be both on Facebook, and we're also going to post it onto our YouTube channel, which you guys can access. That YouTube one will be posted by the end of the night. We have to download this recording and then share it onto YouTube. But for the Facebook Live one, that should be posted just as soon as we're finished here. Again, if you guys have any questions, come onto office hours or email info@neigc.org if you guys have any further questions. And don't forget to nominate. Either nominate yourself or by filling out the application for either a board member position or regional representative position, or you guys can nominate somebody else who you guys think would be a great fit for regional representative or a board member position. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy, and we will all see you guys soon, hopefully. But for now, make sure you guys you're staying safe.